every match, I just come out and try to give the best that I can. Even when I have a bad day, I think I've had a bad day so far, which maybe people don't notice, maybe people notice, I don't know. But just I notice in my career and I think in life period, just come with positivity, high energy, try to, make things fun, because the moment that you start getting negative and having these bad thoughts, then everything just goes horrible. But I think the league's pretty solid. Um, a lot of good players, a lot of athletic players. I like that Prime Bali and everybody involved with it is trying to grow the game because like there is a good league here, and it can grow and get even better. So it's cool to see that. It's cool to be a part of it. So, shout out to Prime Bali and everybody else that's involved with it for trying to make it a big thing. Everybody's just been so welcoming and so much fun and like having good energy, especially our team. And I love that. I appreciate that because, I try to bring energy and, make things fun. And a lot of guys here, from top to bottom do that. So it makes the transition a lot smoother and easier. Um, yeah, so I like that. The food, there's some really spicy food that a lot of you guys say, oh, it's not that bad. And then I'm, dying. Um, but yeah, no, it's been great, man. I really like it a lot. So, but just everything with the team. There's always different moments. Obviously I have special moments with each person, but just I'll remember the team again from top to bottom because everybody I've had a special interaction with, and it just means a lot. So there's just like some moments in like the games, or practices where like, Majib, Nitin, Jinshu, Ashad will make like a crazy block or like a crazy attack, and like for me, I'm just like, holy crap, like that's incredible. And they're just kind of like, and so like those types of moments, or like Joe goes over the block like a nice double or triple block, and he just does something really freaking athletic, or I'm like, holy crap, or Setu bombs the serve, or Mindu makes like a super great defense, like just these types of things are like a little mind blowing because like I didn't know what to expect volleyball wise. Like, I watched a lot of the league last year, but watching is different than being here in person and watching it as a fan, so oh, the fans, man, they're awesome. Like can't say it enough. Thank you guys for supporting us and coming out and just giving all the energy that you give us. Um, it's been nothing but great, man. And I love it. I mean, I think majority of people see that like I feed off of that too. It gets me going more. I try to hype them up more, and like becomes like an energy match between me and the fans. Who can bring more energy for the team. And that's awesome. Around like 16, 17-year-old Jalen, um, I was getting recruited by a bunch of colleges in the States. And, I wasn't the best academic student. But getting recruited like that showed me like, hey, like I have to take school a bit more serious. And I, got my grades together, and I ended up getting recruited by a ton of schools. And I ended up saying to myself, like, wow, like, you know, I could do something. And then from there, I went to college, and after college, professionally playing and some time with the national team, so I guess, yeah, when I was 16, 17, it kind of opened my eyes and said, wow, like I could do something with this. Oh man, there's a lot of people to shout out for that. Obviously my mom, because she was the high school coach at the time. I think pretty sure she was an assistant coach, and all those guys around that time when she was coaching, and I think she coached girls too, and some of the girls there too. Like I view them as like big brothers and big sisters. I was like 6 or 7 years old, always with my mom at the high school gym, watching them practice. So a lot of those people, um, yeah. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, I mean we've played together. We're pretty similar in a lot of things, um, but we also thrive off of each other with the differences too. So like, yeah, just it's like a well-oiled machine. Like we just work well together. So even when we disagree on things, like we end up coming back and bouncing back. So a lot of inside jokes. Like we make funny things. Like we'll look at each other and like we'll kind of know like, I know exactly what you're talking about. Um, but yeah, that's it. Just to be safe, I'll say that. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I just every match, I just come out and try to give the best that I can. Even when I have a bad day, I think I've had a bad day so far, which maybe people don't notice, maybe people notice, I don't know. But just I notice in my career and I think in life period, just come with positivity, high energy, try to, make things fun, because the moment that you start getting negative and having these bad thoughts, then everything just goes horrible. So um, I think that's what allows me to stay locked in and focus is just trying to keep the energy up and supporting my teammates because then also they'll support me. So I think naturally as humans, like we have a little bit of a tendency to be selfish sometimes, and that's, it's human nature. And I think when I was younger, kind of that was bigger, but growing up and getting more mature was realizing like I want to see other people succeed, and how can I bring out the best in them? And I think a lot of that does reflect with like bringing good energy to them and supporting them. And then in turn, it reciprocates and it comes back the same way, and it makes a thriving environment. So yeah, I don't want to say like I was the worst kid ever, but definitely I was a pain in the butt, like I always got into trouble with little things, big things. Um, but I think that also made, some of the character of who I am, and yeah, I think if you saw a younger version of me, you'd be like, oh, this kid's a pain in the butt, and that's to say the least. I think just seeing my journey of like, being a young kid, being kind of pain in the butt to where I'm at now, it's, yeah, it's nice to just like see that, transition and that growth, so I don't know exactly what point, but definitely just the journey. Like I said, watching a lot of last year. Obviously, I was coming here, so I was doing a little bit of homework. Um, so it's a little difficult to say exactly because again, viewing in person and videos, two completely different things. Um, but I think the league's pretty solid. Um, a lot of good players, a lot of athletic players, and that's something that like you can't just teach somebody. Like even if you work your hardest, there's a limit. And seeing a lot of like the athletes, I'm like, wow, like, if these guys had a little bit more exposure, playing outside of India, like they could be phenomenal players. Um, and like even working with the resources, I know some places, especially with volleyball, is not in the States too. It's not like um, the number one sport. So like the resources aren't huge. And I've noticed that here in India too. So seeing that and seeing where the level is, like it's a nice thing to see because it can grow more, and like there's not like a limit at it. And I like that Prime Volley and everybody involved with it is trying to grow the game because like there is a good league here, like and it can grow and get even better. So it's cool to see that. It's cool to be a part of it. So, shout out to Prime Volley and everybody else that's involved with it for trying to make it a big thing. In a good and bad way, I try not to like focus too much on the other teams and other players just because like I'm kind of confident in my team and like what we do because obviously I'm with them every day. I practice with them, you know. But yeah, it's tough to just say one good player. There's a lot of good players. There's players that I've played against in other leagues too that are here that are good players. So it's tough to say exactly one. So I'll give credit to all the foreign players and the local players. Like they're working their butts off. There's a lot of five setters that some teams I feel like if you're down 2-0 or you're not winning games, you could just give up. And a lot of teams are fighting. And that's a cool thing to see because volleyball is such a complicated game. And especially here where like one super serve can change the game drastically, so it's cool. Shout out to everybody, all the teams, all the players. Everybody, not just her, but everybody that I've lost in, my time of living. Just grateful for the moments with them. Yeah, love her a lot, love all of them. And, thankful for you guys for being supportive. So yeah, that's it, man. Just thank you.